This is not your regularly scheduled broadcast. If you're seeing this, you were exposed to footage not meant for your timeline. You need to listen, because the version of reality you're in right now is bleeding. Your screen may flicker. You may feel lightheaded. That's normal. Do not rewind, do not refresh, do not speak your name aloud. The footage you saw earlier was not fiction. It was an archive from another version of Earth, one that has already collapsed. This transmission is only visible to individuals who've unknowingly viewed a fractured stream. If you remember a show that doesn't exist, if you've seen a weather report for a city that isn't on your map anymore, you've already begun the transition. Stay calm, do not turn this off. The longer you watch, the more you'll understand. But you'll wish you hadn't. You're not insane. You didn't hallucinate that cartoon episode that no one else remembers. You didn't invent that actor's face that suddenly looks wrong. And your TV didn't just glitch. It showed you a broadcast from a different version of your world. These aren't accidents. These are echoes. Residual signals from timelines that have been overwritten, deleted, or folded. At exactly 2:03 a.m., some broadcast towers slip. Their signals don't just project into space. They slip through timelines. You may have tuned in during a routine insomnia scroll. Or maybe it autoplayed after a video you don't remember clicking. Either way, your eyes absorbed footage that didn't belong here. Footage from a year that didn't end the same. Footage from a version of Earth that made a different choice in 1997 or 2004, or just last Tuesday. Every second you watched that footage, you were syncing with it, not just seeing it, blending with it. And now you feel it, don't you? The silence in your hallway, the new creak in your floorboard, that second voice half a second behind your own, because the signal didn't just show you something, it attached something. There are signs, little fractures. Your calendar app opens, but today's date doesn't feel real. You double-check the year, not because you forgot, but because something feels shifted. People swear a building was always there, but you remember the empty lot, you remember the gas station, you remember the missing time, you hum a jingle that no one's ever heard before, but you know it, you grew up with it, you can see the colors of the logo in your head, except the company doesn't exist anymore, or never did. Your best friend tells a story about you, but it's a version where you said something you never would. You try to correct them, they hesitate, then they laugh like they're brushing it off. But they're nervous. You blink and see something in your mirror like a half second behind. Your pet won't sleep in your room anymore. Your phone has a contact with your name in it, but you didn't save it. And when you open it, the photo is your face, with a scar you don't have. You're not being paranoid. You're misaligned. Whatever broadcast you watched, it didn't just show you another timeline. It began swapping yours out. You're not in the wrong version of reality. You are becoming the wrong version of yourself. In 2009, a digital archive technician named Marla Bexley logged a report no one was supposed to see. She was reviewing damaged VHS transfers from a regional broadcast station that had gone dark in 1983. The tapes weren't labeled with any channel code, no commercials, no intro music, just static, then a signal, then a man sitting at a desk, reading from a script that didn't match any historical event. He described things that never happened. He mentioned a volcanic eruption in Kansas, a president who never existed, a spacecraft landing in a town no one's heard of, called Trenton's Valley. Marla cross-referenced the footage with official news logs. Nothing matched. The more she watched, the stranger her own timeline became. Her mother called to ask if she'd ever had a brother. Co-workers didn't recognize her badge. Emails she swore she sent had no record. The final message she wrote was in her logbook. I think I've watched too many versions. I don't know which one I'm from anymore. She disappeared 3 days later, but her badge was scanned at work for another 6 weeks. Security footage shows someone entering the building. Same posture, same movements. But the face is always too blurry to confirm. The tapes she watched were later labeled Sequence B7, Unstable Narrative Loop. Since then, 31 incidents have been linked to the same footage, all involving people who watched something that didn't belong in their timeline, and then began slipping out of their own. If you're still watching, we need you to remember something important. You didn't find this broadcast. It found you. You may think this is a late-night rabbit hole, another spooky clip, another ARG. But this isn't scripted, and this isn't entertainment. What you're seeing right now, this broadcast, is part of a recovery signal. One we've embedded into fractured timelines like yours to test the symptoms of temporal contamination. Let's be clear. If the following things have started happening to you, you're already affected. Deja vu every morning, but only during specific tasks. The clock hits 3:12 a.m., but you swear it said 3:11 just a second ago. You catch your reflection watching you blink. Your neighbors wave, but you've never seen them move in. You keep dreaming of a building you've never been in, but know by heart. You remember conversations no one else had. These aren't glitches. These are alignment cracks. Once you've absorbed too many incompatible timeline signals, TVs, phones, radios, you begin to phase in and out of temporal sync. At first, it's passive. You feel tired, office disoriented. Then your voice delays when you speak. Your eyes take longer to adjust to mirrors. You stop showing up in photos, then security footage. Then the calendar doesn't remember your birthday. This broadcast you're watching now is a test pattern. We're observing you, measuring response time. The static you heard earlier, that was the scan. You've already been cataloged. You may have less than a week before your timeline fully rejects you. Once rejection begins, your body might stay, but your presence won't. Some call it slipping, some call it fading, we call it reassignment, and once it starts, you won't even remember what the original year felt like. Some of you watching this right now still think you're in your timeline. You're not. There's a theory known only to a few classified circles called the forgotten timeline theory. It was banned from academic publication in 1997, buried in closed research networks, and stripped from every university that tried to archive it. But here's what you were never meant to know. There was a correct timeline, a primary strand, a single original, all others are accidents, backups, failed renders of reality built in panic after something broke, something colossal. We don't know when the fracture first occurred. Some say it was during a global reset event. Others blame a specific particle collision. But those are just theories to make people feel in control. The real reason? Too many observers, too much awareness. Humanity wasn't supposed to track time so obsessively. Seconds, milliseconds, data logs, facial recognition timestamps. Every time you recorded life, you sharpened its edges. Eventually, time couldn't keep up. So it split, silently, sloppily, and now each of you is drifting through a second-hand reel of reality. Some of these timelines were copied in a hurry. You'll notice the little things. Wrong brand names on cereal boxes, TV shows that ended differently, dead people who are suddenly alive, but just slightly different. Landmarks missing your childhood home having one too many windows. Every time your brain corrects one of these errors, you erase the original memory. Not forget, erase. The timeline rewards you with a clean overlay, so you stop asking questions. But the cracks are still there. Ever looked at a map and realized your country's shape feels wrong? That's not poor memory, that's cognitive drift. The timeline you remember no longer exists, but you do, and that's the problem. The forgotten timeline theory explains why some people begin to disappear from public records even while they're still alive. It explains why others feel off, like they're mimicking behavior, not living it, because they're from timelines that were deleted and they shouldn't exist anymore. You might be one of them, you might be a remnant, a displaced version of yourself. That kept going. So how do you know? How do you know you didn't slide between timelines? How do you know you weren't watching the wrong version of your own life? There are signs, small, repeatable, deniable. But once you learn to look, they're impossible to unsee. Digital clocks glitch subtly. You glance and see 4:19 blink and it's 4:17. You try to convince yourself you misread it, but what if you rewound? Voices you recognize sound different. The cadence is right, but the tone is unfamiliar, like a re-recording. Memories that don't match anyone else's. You swear a building used to be there, a road used to bend a different way. Your mom's eyes weren't that color. Old video footage feels staged. You find home videos and realize the version of you in them doesn't move like you, doesn't sound like you, doesn't smile like you. These aren't just coincidences, they're displacement artifacts. And the more you notice them, the more unstable your presence becomes. That's the worst part. Awareness accelerates decay. That's why most people don't feel it. They're too immersed in the replica to question it, but not you. You're still watching, still listening, and that's how we know you don't belong here.